Joe here with S3 Archery, and I wanted to come to you today and I wanted to do a product review on the Howard Hill Bighorn Sheep. Now this is a bow that I received back in February, and I've been spending the past few months testing it extensively, and I feel confident now that I can come to you and give you my impressions of this bow after shooting thousands and thousands of shots with it, and hopefully give you a little bit of information on whether or not you want to purchase Howard Hill bow or not. So as a reminder, I did a product preview video on this bow back in February, so be sure to go on our channel and check that video out. You'll see me taking a few shots with it. You can hear how quiet it is. You can hear my first impressions of it. But if you don't get a chance to see that video, the specs on this bow, this is a Howard Hill Bighorn Sheep. That means that the limbs are red elm, so very beautiful wood and very smooth. AMO, this bow is 70 inches end to end. Poundage on this bow is 42 pounds at 29.5 inches. As far as the features on this bow or the specs, I have deer antler limb tip overlays just for the aesthetic nature of them, as well as it reinforces the limb tips so you can have those fast flight strings. It has an index grip, slight indexing, so not a flat wristed grip, with the brown leather glued wrap. And then it has just a little bit of string follow that I requested from the master bowyer Craig Eakin. So that string follow, number one, it looks amazing. It creates this great D bow shape, as well as it makes a very smooth drawing bow and minimizes the hand shock in this bow. So those are the specs of this bow. As far as the things that have really stood out to me when shooting this bow, for the pros of this bow, the first thing that I absolutely love about the Howard Hill longbows and this particular bow is it's extremely light in the hand. So if you do a little bit of research on Howard Hill longbows, they are extremely light and agile. It's probably only a pound to a pound and a half. And what that means is it is extremely agile for how big of a bow this bow is, and it is very quick to target. There isn't a lot of muscles that need to be used to get this bow on target very, very quickly. And if you look at any of my other product reviews or product previews, you'll know that I really enjoy light bows. Some bows can get very nervous when they're extremely light, and they can be harder to stay on target, but this bow, being 70 inches long and being designed as a straight limbed longbow, is extremely stable when you're on target, and I haven't found it to be an issue at all that it's light. And just as a little bit of a reminder, this is exactly Howard Hill's design that he used when he won 196 consecutive field tournaments. So yeah, this design is very effective, very, very accurate. So that's number one. That's my first thing that I enjoy about this bow. The next thing that I enjoy about this bow is just how smooth it is to draw. Being a 70-inch straight limb longbow, you would expect that, but it's hard to describe just how smooth this bow is. So I've shot a few bows, and stacking is something that you encounter quite a bit when you're doing product reviews and testing a lot of different bows, but this bow is definitely not in that category, and just a real treat to draw, and something that I just really, really enjoy to shoot over and over again. The third thing that I've found that I've enjoyed the most of this bow so far, it might be a surprise to some of you, but it's the grip. The grip is a very unique grip to this style of longbow. The grip is actually 2 times deeper than it is wide, so when I put it up against my shirt here and I turn it, you'll see that grip is much thinner than it is deep. And for a person who's just grabbing a Howard Hill bow for the first time, that might feel a little uncomfortable, and it turns off a lot of people, but I'm here to say that you shouldn't allow that to happen. You should put in your time with this bow, because what I've found is that because that grip is oval shaped and not round, it has a very distinct way that it wants to be held, and when you learn how to hold this bow, it is extremely repeatable. And if you get off even by a 1/4 inch on your hand placement, it's going to let you know. It's actually going to be very uncomfortable, and if you draw it, it'll be very, very uncomfortable because it'll dig into your hand a little bit. So because of that, it helps you grab the bow the exact same way every single time, and it makes it so that you can put amazingly tight groups over and over and over again with this bow, and that's pretty unique for a longbow. So I've learned to love this grip, and when I grab other bows now, or if I grab a recurve or a hybrid longbow, it almost feels sloppy to me because I don't know where to hold it exactly, because it always feels good. Where this bow, it only feels really good in a certain position. So some people might not like that, if you just initially grab it, but I love this bow. So those are the pros in my mind. Those are the top 3 things about the Howard Hill longbows. If there is a con, if there is any on this bow, the thing I've found after shooting this bow, and I shoot quite a bit, so this might not be the experience for a lot of people. I shoot anywhere from 200 to 300 shots a day, but after about 100 shots, this brown leather grip, it glazes over and becomes extremely slippery. So much so that sometimes after the shot, my hand will slip up above the shelf, and it just adds a little bit of doubt in my mind about how the bow is going to react when the shot goes off, if my hand's going to slip or not. What I've done to minimize that is I bought a horsehair brush for shoe polishing, and after every shooting session, I rough up that leather again so it's ready to go the next shooting session. But it's just a really kind of unique thing about this bow that I found that I haven't had with other bows, and just something to consider when choosing the material. Maybe I've enjoyed this brown leather grip. I don't think I'd do it differently, but it's just something to note that it might happen with this particular standard brown leather grip. So if you don't want that, you might want to think about a different leather material that Craig Eakin, the Master Bowyer, offers. So those are the 3 pros and the 1 con that I found with this bow. As far as performance with this bow, the first thing that I found, and I mentioned it with the grip, is that it's so repeatable that this bow, I actually shoot the best of all the bows that I've shot. And that's kind of surprising probably to many of you, because this is known as kind of a finicky bow. It's either you're really, really good with it if you put a lot of time in with it, or you're not that good with it because it's just the tolerances are so tight on it. But I just found that I can put amazingly tight groups over and over and over again. And like I said, I think it's because of that grip I can repeat it so much. And being a straight limb longbow, it is extremely stable. So when you get your target acquired, it doesn't want to move at all. It is a very, very stable bow. So very, very accurate. As far as ease of use, I kind of touched on that. I look at a Howard Hill longbow kind of like a race car. When you put it in the hands of somebody who's put a lot of time in with it and understands what it can do and what it can't do, you are very, very effective with it. But if you have poor form at all, or not consistent form, it might be kind of a frustrating bow for you because it is such kind of tight tolerances, and the design of it isn't exactly made for complete forgiveness. So just something to note if you're a brand new novice to archery, or you're someone who just doesn't want to put the time in to build a relationship with a bow, this might be a little bit more of a difficult bow to pick up and just shoot well with right away, versus maybe a recurve out there, a very standard recurve, be a little bit more forgiving. You maybe want that torque in your limb tips a little bit just to forgive some of the errors that you're making. So that's that. As far as the smoothness of draw, I touched on that. I'm a 29 to 29.5 inch draw length, and I can pull this bow back, and here's 29, and I can pull it all the way back to 31, 32, and there is zero stack whatsoever. And you might expect that from a 70-inch bow, but there's a lot of bows out there that can't do that, and it makes this bow so much fun to shoot because it is so smooth. Finally, as far as performance and speed, feet per second, this bow is coming in at 10 grains per pound shooting arrows. This bow shoots 163 feet per second. And that's pretty fast. It's pretty darn good. So in all my testing, I've found that recurves tend to shoot anywhere from 160 to 175 feet per second. Hybrid longbows shoot anywhere from 155 to 165 feet per second. And then longbows shoot anywhere from 150 to 165 feet per second. So this is on the upper end of that spectrum for longbows. And that might surprise you for a bow that has a little bit of string follow, which takes away about 2 to 3 feet per second. So as I've said before, if you've been holding off on purchasing a Howard Hill longbow because you've been worried about its performance as far as not being able to keep up with most other bows, you don't need to worry about that. These bows definitely have a lot of performance in them, and in fact, in all my testing, these are actually on the upper end of the longbows as far as performance. So that's really my review of this bow. As an overview to it, if you're looking for a bow that has an amazing tradition to it, this being Howard Hill's exact design, you're looking for a bow that's incredibly smooth and a bow that's incredibly accurate if you put the time in and build a relationship with it, I don't think that you can go wrong with purchasing a Howard Hill longbow. So feel free as always to post comments underneath this video if I've forgotten anything, and you have a question about it, I'll be sure to respond and answer that question. Until next time, be sure to shoot straight, have fun out there.